opportunity. And first and foremost, introduce me here. My name is Odong, and I'm an alumni of Saints for Liberty. And basically what has brought us here is the Leadership Forum. And chances are high, or the bets are so much to the advantage that we won't be disappointed at this point of time. Though, as we are advancing with the discussion and the sharing, going forward, I would encourage us to try to take the front seats first. That relates, we have the divine economy model before us. Some of us could be questioning, I think as we're taking our seats, please, let's try to do it gently. So we have some materials before us. And chances are high, some of us are questioning, how does this relate to my leadership abilities or my leadership giftings? Because as a matter of fact, we have come here benchmarking at the back of our minds that this is a leadership forum. Now, I want us to go briefly, just to give us a benefit of interest, and link up this book to the element of leadership that really finds so essential to our society. And it's a material we find so much helpful in actually advancing not only the leadership habits, but also the economic habits. So why? We do understand that the theoretical economics is so much important in the way leadership is advancing in our societies today. Believe it or not, leadership has more to do with how the economic spaces do operate. And believe it or not, the economic spaces have more to do how society depicts its development. Not so. Are we together? So, be it in the element of leadership or whatsoever, we need to get back. We are all vulnerable and we become victims of the circumstances that operate into the market. Every habit or characters that we exhibit end up and settle down to the judgment of the market. Be it the leadership abilities we try to fashion, be it in trade, be it in any of the giftings we try to oscillate. That's why we find it so important to actually not to disassociate our leadership abilities with the beauty and the gist of economics. Because at the end of it all, what signals improvement and advancement in life is the economic beauty in our society. Okay? Though leadership is the atmospheric, the atmosphere created by the guidance and the laws that are in place to give a smooth running for our economies to play it out well. Not so. All right, kindly go with me, I think, in the book. Mostly, let's go to the 12, that is the 11, under the introduction bit. I'm only going to cite out a few things to just give us an interest and really see how we as leaders, or we who have come with this back mind benchmark of leadership, really see. Because at the end of it all, we all want to add something to the world. Not so. We all want to leave the world better than we found it. Believe it or not. Not so. We all want to contribute. Though our vision of impacting and adding value to the world are kind of different. Though at the end of it all, we settle to the honest truth that we all become victims and we are vulnerable to the market. Right? Okay, I just had a few, just to pick up our interest. It's not to get into the entire rhyming. Please, if you get time, you'll actually pick up the interest and read deeper into the book. It's the divine economy model. If you listen to it, that is the divine. People who are so much in the spiritual avenue and arena may try to connect it to the pastoral thing or maybe the purgatory or whatsoever it is. But no, this is just mostly the human spirit. It's mostly a connection. The human spirit, which is our will, okay? We are spiritual beings living in a physical body. Do we all of us agree to that? Yeah, sure. We are spiritual beings living in a spiritual body, in a physical body, right? Yeah. Though the only benefit is our spirit or our will is not confined in the time and space of the world today, right? That's why your interest can overgrow your abilities or physical capabilities, not so. Yeah. But we are confined into a body, right, that is trapped into time and space. Yes, our physical body is trapped into time and space. Right? If you don't become 20 years old, you'll not jump there because you wish to. Right? But our spirits, our inner spirits can drive there. Our will, our interest, our desires can override time and space. Right? So we have these two battling things. But it is the body that have us all, right? So now getting into this gist of the divine economy model, I think let's get to the second paragraph that is under the introduction bit. That is a picture is worth 1,000 words, okay? That's just a brief in the second paragraph, and we cite out It's mostly to engage us and pick up our interest in really digging deeper, to operate and act into this practical economic environment. Okay? All right, a quick one. I think someone can volunteer and read. Oh.
If you find it hard to see the value of economics, because everything seems so disjointed.
Yes.
Even though you are fully aware that all things are interconnected, you are expected to make sense of the fragmented pieces of information that seem foreign and contradictory to one another. It is no wonder why you, like most of us, end up losing interest in economics with a distant hope that someone else will find out how it is all supposed to work.
Oh, thanks very much. To the larger extent, we think that our art of leadership leaves the economic beauty to the businessman, right? Though we do understand that policies, the benchmark plannings and whatever they all need the art of leadership, okay? That's why the theoretical economics, leaders are mostly in the avenue of thinking, okay? Are we together here? So most times we get disjointed, we get disconnected, fine. We try to isolate ourselves, distance ourselves from this entire beauty of economics, right? So that's why we find it important to actually dig deeper and understand some writings and people who get deeper into getting the theoretical economics. Because most times when we try to think we can do the doing, we end up losing the pace, right? Okay. All right. I think let's get. Okay. Let me read this. I think to quicken up. Still in that introductory bit, in the fourth paragraph. Okay. Okay. In the fourth indent, it says, "Empowering you is not what those who are trying to control the economy want." Okay. And that's a bitter truth, guys. We may not want to accept it, but it is. Okay. It says, empowering you is not what those who are trying to control the economy want. Then it continues saying, one way to keep you weak is to perpetuate the false belief that the economy belongs to the realm of experts. Are we getting that understanding, guys? There's that utopia that is built and shaped around us, okay? That economy is shaped, is built around this entire realm of experts. Now, that's the kind of ice we want to melt and break as leaders. Okay? Anyway, this confinement of leadership is not only actually arrayed to the political leadership, okay? Personally, I'm not so much into the political environment, but I so much believe I'm a leader, okay? I'm into business, I'm to think tanks, So this entire avenue of disconnecting and restricting ourselves through a false belief that is shaped in the environment that we live in, that requires someone is taking care of business. And how does this gain control over us is we end up settling to the fact that someone is taking care of business. Now, while we are here, we are trying to actually isolate from that kind of dogma, and we want us to settle to the fact that we ought to take care of business. Okay? Someone is not there taking care of business. We are all vulnerable to the market. If we don't take care of the business, nothing will work out for us. Okay? And we ought to, elevate this element of leadership, self-discovery. We shall have the discussions here. The liberatory element of discovering the element and the beauty of leadership to actually elevate all these factors. Let's get to, I think, let's open with me, I think on a quick one. We are just extracting some few things. Please get deeper, It has that model that connects the human spirit, connects it to justice, to the market, to the law and order. You can understand that deeply if you give it time. This is just to give it an interest of yes, we as leaders, we have this, attribute of accepting the responsibility in society. We really ought to understand the beauty of economics. That's why actually we have this material. It's not by mistake that we're giving it. And we're actually grateful to the author who actually supported in this course. All right, okay, let's go to page 7 in the numbering, not in the shooting. And let's try to dig out some of the important things which need actually the art of leadership in the economic community. That is page 7, I think. Okay, commencing on emerging the economy as a whole. Please, we are just trying to create some niche into the issue, okay? This is not actually detailing the book. Get time. I've ever read this book. At least know there is a way, when your mind, because it's actually, preset that you can never act beyond what you know. You can never know beyond what you believe, and you can never believe beyond what your knowledge, right? So, you can never act beyond what you know, okay? Not so. Yeah, if I know 1 plus 1 is 2, I'll never give it a thought to say it may be 11. Right? Not so. I think I'm speaking sense somewhere here. So knowledge is so much important.
Gambling. You may gamble somehow.
Yeah, I get it. Gambling is a fine bit, though the bets are not judgmental. You know, you don't actually in life, in the element of leadership, we so much want, even if there are chances, you have higher chances of controlling the outcomes. You know, once some of us sit to the reluctance, thinking someone is taking care of business. Now, this comes to gambling, okay? When you set your bets, okay? You are at the mercy of maybe Arsenal, maybe Manchester City. It's not in your control. So as the leadership, as the art of leadership, you ought to actually build prospects, but strategic prospects that you ought to have a play in the outcomes. Are we getting the point here? The same comes to the business, you know. I come to this very room to do some, the hub training of entrepreneurship, okay? We come to a point that we realize that when people are doing strategic planning, most times as entrepreneurs, you ought to draw plans knowing you are 80% part and parcel of the entire process. If you draw a plan and somewhere you have to throw a blame either to the government or what have you, then that ceases to be a genuine strategic plan. You ought to be in every cycle and trend of the plans that you draw. And that is the beauty of leadership. Be it in entrepreneurship, be it in our professions, or be it in this civil society sector, be it in think tanks, be it even in the self-discipline that we try to say. Not so. Not so. Okay, let me actually get quickly about this. Property rights. We shall talk about this. These are the tenets that liberty lives in. Property rights. Why does this book cite out property rights? You know, when you don't own property, you can't develop property. Okay? What we add value to, we add value to property. Now, what is the property? First of all, you're the first property. Not so. If you don't own yourself, you can't add value to yourself. Not so. And then comes to these other properties, the land, you know, buildings and whatever. So property right is so much essential. The book will detail it more. You can get time and read it. Then you have the human spirit. I made it easier, saying the biggest incentive in the market is our will. It's not the money, right? Money is just a medium that expresses our will. Here's the deal. If I go and get a boda guy, the thing is my willingness to travel to a certain place is higher than the money I have. That's why I will pay off the 4,000 for the gentleman to take me to a certain place. Why? It's the will that is first what? Transacted. That's why the human spirit comes in here. Okay? Everything in the market oscillates from the element of the spiritual being or the spiritual, life. That is our will. Okay? Value for value. It's my will that shapes the value. If I don't value a cake for 500 shillings, I won't buy it. Right? So the will comes first in the entire avenue. And then we have also understanding the economy is so much important. Then there's this part that I wanted us to read. That's the last bit, that's the last paragraph that says, the market is where individual human action undergoes reconfiguration into a more social entity. Okay? Then it says, this part of the dynamics between the act and the transformation. The market is where knowledge flows and from in a civilization. Okay? Now, I want us to I think we shall get time, guys, and read deeper into this book. This is just trying to give us a thing to inspire us to read this. As leaders, as we who aspire to actually see this society change, we really need to dig deeper and have the theoretical backing of everything that we bring into birth, okay? No, since capital is the most limiting factor, I think all of us can agree to this, right? But now let's understand why capital becomes the most limiting factor. It says, the movement is, which is right. Inflation can crack the growth of society, or it can cause the other way around. And then it continues and says, this necessitates optimally a harmonious expression of the market, so truthfully reflects the will of the people. Now it concludes saying, in the divine economy fully vested, the human beings find share is most limiting factor. Still in this book, you'll get a part that will try to explain why capital is a limiting factor. The most important thing is because future. The future is uncertain. The present can be predicted. We can play a role in the present. We have no control in the future, but we can shape directions to the future. Are we together?
Yes.
So now, why capital? Because the future is not in our control. We just shape ways there, right? Are we together somewhere? Okay, the future is not in our control. We shape ways there. Now, why capital becomes a limiting factor? The case in point is during war. The only capital that we have is we are uncertain of the future. So survival for the fittest becomes our own incentive. So the capital becomes limited in that environment. That's why business never mushrooms or never thrives in amidst war. Are you getting the analysis? So capital is always going to be limited. Now, the most important capital we have to commence with is we, right? Is we. We all control what we have today to extend us to the future. Please,
make sure that you use the knowledge that is in this book to transform your communities. Now, I want to, because now I told you we are time conscious, so we want to start with the program. We want to start with speed networking. I know in most cases, speed networking is exchanged with introducing yourselves, what are your expectations, but we are not going to do that. We say we are innovative, we are young people and we want to change Africa. So round robin style, I have someone asking, what is that? What is that? You're going to know. So we are going to do it practically. Peter, can you help me? So what we are going to do is you are going to face your neighbor. You just change the seat, you face your neighbor, okay? So in 1 minute, not even a minute, in 2 seconds or 3 seconds, you are going to share about yourself to your neighbor, okay? That I'm George, I'm a national coordinator at Student for Liberty, I'm a founder of African Justice Media, I'm a founder of GEM Vision International Limited, I'm also this and this and this. I'm a volunteer of Red Cross and a leader at the Red Cross Society, Branch Youth Council. Then you go on, why are you interested in this? That is speed networking, round robin style. So you shift to the next person, okay? I hope you guys can grasp that. Peter, can you carry it?
Are you my next person?
No, you just exchange the seats.
So
You
he's my next
face
person.
each other. We are doing this activity for only 10 minutes. 10 minutes.
It's international. Every university is talking about chapter. So what do you must be like
Guys, we are doing speed networking.
no school. A student at KIU doing IT this chapter is your understanding the law and
Yes, you proceed to the next level.
Only 30 seconds. Extend to the that's it. This one. Extend.
No, you share with this one. You share with this one. In 2 seconds, you change. You share with another one.
Then move to the next like this.
Guys, you are so slow. You are not shifting to the next person. We have only 10 minutes. We have only 5 minutes to go. Please shift. Guys, you can see how these people are doing it. They are shifting now. Please shift. Not spend time there. Please. Exchange. Go to the next level. Exchange. Please. We have 4 minutes. 4 minutes to go. Only have 4 minutes to go. Exchange. Go to the next person. Share products.